Rocking and rolling for Got It Covered, episode number 2. Hi, everybody. Giovanni Heater alongside Raza Umarani. Good to be back on here with you, my friend. How you doing? How was your week?
It was good, man. I just got to say, once was so nice, we had to do it twice, baby. I'm glad we're getting into a rhythm here. Obviously ACC preview was so much fun, and now we're ready to get into it on a national landscape. And everything's been pretty good for me. I hope everything's been good for you. And every day is a day closer to college football. People don't realize this. Week 0 is in like 10 days. Like it is right
Yeah.
around the corner.
I was just talking with my mom this morning. She was getting ready to go to work. I was literally doing some work for the show, and she was making her Keurig, and I said, the pitter patter of those droplets falling into the mug. I was like, you can smell the chill in the air, the pumpkin spice protein pancakes on the griddle, and then I literally said, "Mom, listen to this." Clicked play, and it was Reese Davis. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, here we are in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I was like, it's almost here. It's
Yeah, the
almost
most
here.
cinematic read you've ever seen at 9 in the morning, just to
A
shot of
brilliant writer,
adrenaline in your arm.
Reese
Yeah,
Davis.
he's a shout out Reese. We love you, dude.
But we got week 0 right around the corner. NFL is going to be here before we know it. We're going to get into our NFL content before we know it. It's we're almost there, man. We're almost there.
We are almost there.
Can't wait. Can't wait. Can't thank everybody enough as well for the amazing traction we've gotten early on. We've been diligent in putting out our long form stuff, but then also chopping it up into clips and being active on social media, getting in on the TikTok. So everyone that's engaged, we can't thank you enough, and hope you'll continue to strap in because it's going to be a great football season.
Yeah, the best is yet to come, and I think it's good. Some people can sit down and listen to a podcast for 2 gosh darn hours, but the odd 30-second TikTok will get the job done as well. So, yeah, all I gotta say is the best is yet to come, and I'm ready to keep rocking and rolling with you, brother.
All right. Well, this week, the AP poll came out. You know you're close to college football when the voters have submitted their ballots. Let's give our instant reactions to the AP poll to kick off today's show. So you got Texas, number 1. Raza, we were robbed of having 1 versus 2 in week 1 at the shoe. Instead of Texas, Ohio State 1 and 2, it's Texas, then Penn State, then Ohio State. I got to tell you, though, I do think Penn State is the second best team in the country. You're not going to agree, I'm sure, but what are your thoughts?
Honestly, my first thought as well was, man, we got robbed of 1v2. My mind went straight to, you might remember this, 2017, Alabama was playing Florida State. Florida State was coming off their huge 2016 season. And I was like, man, I hope that's a 1v2. And they put Florida State 3. I think Clemson was 2 entering that season. And I was like, gosh darn it, like we never get 1v2 in the regular season. I wanted to see it. That was the first thing I thought of. But listen, I think a lot of voters will give the edge to Penn State, and that's totally fine because of how much they returned versus how much Ohio State lost, which I'm sure we'll get into later. But to be honest with you, I didn't really have a problem. I think the top 10, honestly, the top 13 is like pretty perfect. Like everybody would have those teams in their top 12 to 13. My biggest takeaway from this is when you get to 14, I just don't know what Michigan is doing there because we don't know anything about Michigan. It's a team that was bad last year. So many of their best players went to the NFL. They're probably going to start a true freshman at quarterback, albeit Bryce Underwood, who was the top quarterback in the class and is extremely talented. But are they better than Florida? We know what they have with DJ Lagway. SMU, we know what they have with Kevin Jennings. K-State with Avery Johnson, even though you with John Mateer, A&M with Marcel Reed. Like you could go down the list and you're like, I don't see how Michigan's better than these teams. That's my biggest takeaway. And honestly, my biggest problem is it's the block M that's 14, maybe not the roster in Ann Arbor.
Sure. And that's very valid. And you hear that dispute with the AP poll so often, right? The brands that are associated with some of these names and how much stake the voters put in that. Honestly, I agree with you. I don't love Michigan at 14. I think there are a slew of teams that are ranked below them that are better than them. That's honestly not my biggest issue. My biggest gripe with how AP voters do things sometimes is you see Boise State there at 25. I think everybody looked around and said, well, there's got to be a group of 5 team in there somewhere. And
Exactly.
they just slap the best group of 5 team at number 25. You're telling me, look at the other receiving votes. I think Louisville's better than Boise State. I think USC is a top 20 team, let alone a top 25 team, to be honest. I think Georgia Tech could have the same argument that Louisville has there. I think Baylor could have the same argument. Utah, like long story short, I just don't like the idea of looking around the room and saying there has to be a group of 5 team, because who says there does?
I agree. It's a problem in both the AP and also the College Football Playoff Committee is very guilty of this as well. Where I remember, especially in the days of the 4-team playoff, every week it would just be like, let's put the undefeated teams 1, 2, 3. And then the 1-loss teams will round out the top 10. And then the 2-loss teams will be 11 through 15. And then the 3-loss teams. And then at the end, we're going to put, I don't know, UCF. It was for so many years. Like, okay, dude, really, is that the best way to go about this? Is this just going to be the Chat GPT output of rank these teams by most wins to least wins? Like, no, it's not. There's so much more to it. I think there doesn't have to be a group of 5 team in the top 25 because we don't know a lot about the group. It's not like UCF coming off that undefeated season. We knew they were going to be good the year after. Like, Boise State lost Ashton Genty, so they might as well have lost everybody. Like, I like Maddox
They do
Madsen.
bring back their quarterback. Yep.
Maddox Madsen's a good player, and they're extremely well coached, but like, it seems like given that they're a top 25 team, right. No, I don't think so. I agree with what you said about the others receiving votes. Maybe they deserve more of a shout, but the thing to keep in mind is this will all play out within the first couple of weeks of the year. Like the week 1 or week 0 AP poll, I should say, just looks so much vastly different than even what it is at the end of September, let alone October, November. So I think it'll all play out, but I totally agree with that point. Like, it's so lazy, in my opinion, with all due respect.
All right, let's go ahead and kind of break down our conference winners right now. We've already talked about the ACC and an entire preview of the ACC video, so you can go check that out. But we will very briefly put it up there and shoot through it. I'll go first here. Clemson winning the ACC, punching their ticket to the college football playoff. I'm the one that has Georgia Tech there playing for the ACC title against Clemson with a second place finish. We'll get into our playoffs. Is it enough to get Georgia Tech into the college football playoff mix? We'll find out later on in the show. I have Miami third, Louisville, SMU, and that's kind of your top 5. That's where that big dash comes and you break into the rest of the conference between 5 and 6 for me in the ACC. Raza, your ACC looks very similar, except for the fact that it's not going to be Georgia Tech playing in the title game for you against Clemson.
Yeah, I've got Miami there. I think talent just wins out, and I have questions about quarterback play. I have questions about coaching, but we saw what Miami was able to do last year with Cam Ward. I think the team around Carson Beck this year is a little bit better, particularly on defense, although they did lose some talent offensively. I just think between the fact that their ACC schedule is a little bit more manageable than the likes of SMU and Georgia Tech, and we saw they were right on the precipice last year with an awful defense. A better defense should be able to get them over the hump. Again, I don't know that that'll be good enough to get them in the playoff because I do think they will lose the title game to Clemson. They're so far and away the best team in the conference. But I think Miami's just got the talent and the resources to be able to finally get back to the ACC title game.
Hard to argue with that. Definitely. All right, let's talk Big 12 now. The Big 12 is so interesting, and I think it's because you could go 1 through arguably 11 for me, and I wouldn't be shocked if they won the conference. You saw Arizona State pick to finish last, end up winning the thing last year. This is, in my opinion, besides the SEC, the deepest conference. And I don't think that it's a situation either where there's a top-heavy bunch, right? Like, it's feeling pretty even. I'd say 1 through 6, 7, and then as deep as 11. I wouldn't be shocked if they stir the pot, because I think Kansas could be a little sleepy. Same with BYU, even though they just lost Jake Retzlaff. But nevertheless, I'm picking Arizona State to take the Big 12. I like Texas Tech to finish second and play the Sun Devils in the Big 12 title game. Iowa State's there third for me, right in the thick of it. Same with Baylor, Kansas State, Utah, TCU. And again, I think as deep as TCU is where you have a really strong argument to win this league if you're in the Big 12.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know that it goes deep as like 11, 12, but you're right. Those top 7 or 8 teams in the league could definitely get it done. I mean, we saw it last year. There was so much at the top. And for me, I didn't realize until I went in and picked all these games to determine this to determine this poll of mine, is I'm like, man, this team could win that game, but it's hard to play at this place and so on and so forth. Like, I originally had Utah in the title game because I'm like, it's so hard for these guys to go to Rice Eccles and win. And we know how well coached Utah's been for this entire century. So it was just hard for me to like pick who's who in the Big 12 because so many of these guys can beat each other on any given day. But I do think the consensus is that it's Arizona State's conference to lose, which if you put that message in a bottle and sent it back 12 months, we would be flabbergasted at the thought of that. But I mean, like, Kenny Dillingham is a psychopath and he's awesome.
He's a fantastic coach.
He's an incredible coach. I mean, like, I would play for Kenny Dillingham in a heartbeat.
Just not even to cut you off, but the story is unbelievable. Like, grew up in that area, grew up a diehard Sun Devil fan, went to games at the old Sun Devil Stadium before the renovations, before the name change and everything, went to games there growing up and always said, no matter where I go, that's my dream job, is to be the head coach at Arizona State, was the offensive coordinator at Oregon just beforehand. And like, what an unbelievable story. And then boom, just like that, they're in the college football playoff. Just
year one.
One of the greatest stories, I think, in the history of college football is Kenny Dillingham's turnaround of the Sun Devils. And it's just now beginning to be written. So we'll see what the rest of the chapters have in store. But it's just such a unique story, the way that he grew up going to that stadium, rooting for that team.
Yeah.
Continue. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, all of the pieces are there for them to continue what they built on last year, right? To build on what happened last year. Obviously, you return Sam Levitt. Obviously, you return Jordan Tyson. You return a guy like Malik McClain, who's honestly one of the more underrated wide receiver twos out in the country. They brought back everybody on defense. Like, their defense wasn't anything to write home about last year necessarily. But if you go down their defense, everybody's like a 50-year senior. It's nuts. And that's so important in a conference like the Big 12, which I feel like is the conference of transfers every year. It's so transient in and out more than seemingly any other Power 4 conference. Like, continuity and coaching are so important for me. That's why I like a school like Utah, or even a school like Baylor. A lot of people are high on this year because coaching plays such a factor when all these guys are coming in and out of the conference. I think Arizona State's got the guys in place in the coaching staff and on the field to run it back this year. They're my pick to win the conference, get back to the college football playoff. I don't know that they'll be back, like one play away from the semifinal like they were last year, but again, it is their conference to lose.
Is there anything you're worried about with Arizona State? I think the one thing that gives me pause with the Sun Devils is the fact that Cam Scadaboo was the heart and soul of that team. And I think everybody's just assuming, because you have Sam Levitt and because Kenny Dillingham is still there and there is continuity, and Jordan Tyson, who was, by the way, banged up down the home stretch of the regular season and in the playoffs, in the postseason as well. I think everyone just believes that because the rest of those pieces are there, it's going to be no problem. And it's going to be a money ball situation. You can't replace Cam Scadaboo, both in the locker room and the on-field production. How can you do it in the aggregate? I think that's where Sam Levitt's leadership really turns things up a tick, right? Because he's going to take over as that driving force in the locker room, and they're going to need it, because that is the one thing that gives me pause, less than on the field, more so in the clubhouse, the absence of Cam Scadaboo.
I think it's a matter of last year down the stretch, like that huge win against BYU, even when they beat Utah, which was a lot on the heels of Scadaboo. But I think back to the BYU game in particular, and then the conference championship against Iowa State and the playoff game against Texas, like, Scadaboo was the workhorse that got them there. But over the course of the year, you could see Levitt gain more confidence, get more comfortable. His Huggies really dropped in a sense last year. And now, even though Scadaboo is gone, Kanye Udo comes in to replace him. He's a pretty good back out of the portal. Levitt's now got that year under his belt where he's like, all right, I'm ready to rock. That's the benefit of being able to learn, in your redshirt freshman season, is because now you get to be the guy in that locker room. And I think between his talent, between who's coaching him, and between his own mental fortitude, like, Levitt will be able to be just fine, in my opinion. And also, he's got dogs around him all over the offense. Like, I still think they should be fine, but I think it's a fair point that you bring up, because Scadaboo was a dog for sure.
There is one play that comes to mind that makes me be able to look at Sam Levitt and say, yep, he's got it, and they're going to be okay. And it's that third down in the red zone against Texas in the playoff last year, where he pulls the Jake the Snake, and somehow, you thought he's dead in the water, scrambles for the first down like a bowling ball. I mean, Cam Scadaboo was having this unbelievable performance throughout the entire game. Like, you just kept dropping your jaw thinking, like, this guy doesn't quit. Like, he's putting the team on his back. But when it was time for Levitt to step up, he was able to do it in a huge moment. Like, what a great play.
Yeah, he's awesome and one of the most fun players in the country to watch. I think probably going to be in the running for the Heisman Trophy this year. We'll get into that later on, but he's an awesome player, and I think the sky's the limit for Arizona State, especially within the Big 12. Again, not sure how they're going to stack up on a national landscape once the playoff rolls around, but they should be able to get there.
All right, so we've agreed with our ACC champion in Clemson. We've agreed with our Big 12 champion in Arizona State. Now let the disagreements and disputes begin. Let's go to the Big 10. Raza, let's start with you. Here is your preseason predictions for the Big 10 conference. Break it down, my friend.
I think, Gio, this all comes down to Ohio State being at home for that Penn State game. Not to say that the game being in Happy Valley would have been a shoe-in win for Penn State. They haven't beaten Ohio State at home since 2016, since that blocked field goal return for a touchdown. Like, it seems like the Buckeyes always get the better of the Nittany Lions, regardless of where the game is played. But I'd have a little bit more pause if the Bucks were going to Happy Valley to play that game. I think they should be able to beat Penn State at home. Honestly, that's not the game that Ohio State that I'm the craziest about them maybe losing. Like, they got to go to Illinois. That could be difficult. They got to go to Wisconsin. That could be difficult. And then obviously they have to go to the Big House, which is never easy. They haven't won there since, before mask mandates were a thing. So it's not exactly going to be easy for Ohio State outside of that Penn State game. But that's the game where, like, okay, if they're able to get through that, they're going to be fine throughout the rest of it. So I think because they have that game at home, because they should win it at home, they should be the top dog in the conference going into Indianapolis. I think that they're going to match up against Penn State again, because I think Penn State will get that second spot because they beat Oregon. So that's why I have it going 1, 2, 3 the way I do, is Ohio State beats Penn State, but Penn State beats Oregon. Ohio State and Penn State face off in Indy for the title. And I was like this close to giving it to Penn State because, for what it's worth, the Big Ten championship game has treated them fairly kindly under James Franklin. They beat Wisconsin. Obviously, they lost to Oregon last year, but they were somewhat competitive in that game. I just think Ohio State, based on talent, based on the fact that they beat them in the first game or projecting them to beat them in the first game, I think they get it done in Indy. Ohio State wins the title over Penn State. It's neck and neck, though. They're so good. They match up so well with one another. Penn State is insane, and I'll let you take the floor when it comes to the Nittany Lions. I just think Ohio State still has Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate. At the end of the day, they have the best offensive player in the country, Jeremiah Smith, and they have the best defensive player in the country, Caleb Downs.
Yeah. That
speaks for itself. The defense gives me a little bit of pause. Ohio State lost 14 players to the NFL draft.
Unreal. 14.
And these are high impact guys. Will Howard, Emeka Ibuka, Donovan Jackson, Josh Simmons, Jack Sawyer. Tyleik Williams, Denzel Burke, Jordan Hancock. The list goes, Lathan Ransom. The list goes on and on and on. 13 of the 14 were starters, and the one guy that wasn't was Quinshon Judkins. Holy cow. But Julian Saint's going to be a really good quarterback, I think. Maybe the best quarterback Ohio State's had since C.J. Stroud. I want to maybe temper my expectations a little bit. But he was
that's fair.
He's a 5-star recruit,
They've only had 2 since then, really.
That's true.
Kyle McCord and Will Howard, and I don't think either one of those were home wreckers at Ohio State.
No.
Kyle McCord at Syracuse, a little bit of a different story, but
he was definitely a gangbuster at Syracuse. But you're right, maybe a bit of a low bar. I just think their offense will still be fine without the guys that they lost. The wide receiver room is still ridiculously deep. Jeremiah Smith is going to be a dog no matter what. So I'll give them the edge for now against Penn State, and that's why I think Ohio State finally, for the first time since 2020, wins the Big Ten.
They get it done. All right. Well, with that, I have to say that I disagree. I go Penn State to finish first in the Big Ten. I got Ohio State right there at second. And to your point, it all comes down to that one game. I think this is the year that finally James Franklin breaks the narrative and wins the big game. And how fitting if it were to come on the road at the Horseshoe, taking down Ohio State at their own place, right? So I have Penn State winning that game, taking the Big Ten. I have Oregon right there. I have Ohio State, Raza, going 8-1 in conference play. Oregon, same. in conference play. But Illinois for me is the fourth place finish. I'm really high on what Luke Altmaier and Brett Bielema bring to the table this season. I have Michigan fifth, a little higher on Michigan than you were. USC right there. If I'm going to pick a sleeper, a team to watch out for in the Big Ten, I'm going to say it's Nebraska because Matt Rule's track record proves that this is when things start to click. And I think with Dylan Raiola gaining a little bit more experience, and that place is always going to be packed in a hard place to play. Always. And they're continuing to build around Dylan Raiola. I think maybe this is the year that things start to click. But their schedule is a little bit daunting, which is why they're still a little bit lower. As a matter of fact, I have Nebraska going 9-3, but 6-3 in conference play. Like a 9-win season is still an 8th place finish in the Big Ten. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, because it's so stacked at the top. For me, Nebraska is just like, it's kind of a hard metaphor to track. But you know how sometimes like you'll be like, you know what? I know this person has constantly wronged me, but this has to be the time that they change. Like we every year since Scott Frost got there, we're like, Nebraska's back. Actually, no, now Nebraska's back. Luke McCaffrey's their quarterback. Now Nebraska's back. Luke McCaffrey's now a freaking wide receiver in the NFL. Oh, sure. Adrian Martinez is their quarterback. Now is the time. And now it's like Dylan Raiola. I understand he's so extremely talented. He was fine last year. Obviously started hot, then kind of fizzled out. Now he's got a whole year under his belt going into his sophomore year. Matt Rule is a tremendous head coach. I don't know. I don't see it. Nebraska and Michigan, I think, are going to be fool's gold this year in the Big Ten. I do really like Illinois. I think USC could be improved, but for me, USC in the Big Ten is a perennial 6-6 program until they make a coaching change. Like they lost Zachariah Branch, they lost Miller Moss. I don't think Lincoln Riley is a good head coach. People have always said that Lincoln Riley makes the quarterbacks. I think that the quarterbacks made Lincoln Riley. Between Baker, Kyler, Caleb, those guys were tremendous. Lincoln Riley without them has not been. Wow. And I think Lincoln Riley, biggest fraud of a head coach in college football. With all due respect, the results have not been there without those guys, and you can't tell me otherwise. Last year they were awful. I mean, they almost beat Penn State. They almost beat Michigan. I want to give them credit for that, but they've definitely downgraded a quarterback. That Mayava kid could be good, but and Jacoby Lane is a dog. Like he's going to be one of the most fun players to watch in the Big Ten this year. I just don't think USC has what it takes to keep up with all of the big dogs that are in the Big Ten. They're not going to be able to keep up.
If it makes you feel any better, their Big Ten schedule is nothing crazy. I have them finishing 6th in the Big Ten with an 8-4 regular season, 6-3 in Big Ten play, because honestly, their Big Ten schedule is nothing insane. They kind of dodged some bullets, 6-3 finish. They're still only 8-4 on the year. I don't know if you give a round of applause for Lincoln Riley with an 8-4 finish in Southern Cal.
I just think USC is the type of program where the expectation is the college football playoff. When there are 12 teams in the playoff, USC has no excuse to not be there every single year.
USC, Miami, Michigan, there's a list. And there's some that are consistently there. Ohio State will never not be there. Like I don't know if Notre Dame's ever going to not be there as long as what's in place stays in place, I guess is my point. Coaches stay where they're at. Texas is never not going to be there. Alabama's going to be there.
Right. Southern Cal should be on that list, but we're in a position where we're going on 2 decades since USC played a game where a national championship was on the line. The 2007 title game. They haven't been to the college football playoff, which has been around for over 10 years now. That's insane to me. And so I honestly think this might be a bold-faced prediction. I think SC has to find a way to move on after this year. They have to find a way. Wow. Because Lincoln Riley I don't think is the guy.
I think their defense is going to be better this year. I think they did the right things.
It was better last year.
Pieces together. That's fair.
It was better last year, but it wasn't good enough. I mean, dude, you cannot be struggling in games against Rutgers and Maryland. It can't. I understand it's hard to travel across the country, but SC is going to be the type of team that plays up to their competition, but also plays down to it. So when you tell me that the schedule is fairly manageable, it doesn't move me because I saw what they did last year with also a pretty manageable schedule. Like they didn't play Ohio State last year. They didn't play Oregon last year. They didn't play Penn State or they did play Penn State.
They did
last
play
year,
Penn State, yeah.
but they didn't play
in Southern Cal though.
That's right. And like, yeah, they went to the big house and almost won, but I just think the offenses were like losing Miller Moss and Zachariah Branch means you might as well have lost everybody. Jacoby Lane's a great player, but is he going to be able to carry the offense on his own? I don't know. So I didn't mean to get off in this huge USC tangent, but I don't really see it with them because I think that's another team that's perennially fool's gold. And I think Lincoln Riley just isn't the guy.
All right. That's fair enough. I got Penn State in the Big Ten. You got Ohio State in the Big Ten. There's one more to talk about. And sometimes they say that it just means more.
It does.
I think it's hard to argue about that with how those people take their football down south. Let's go ahead and talk about the Southeastern Conference.
SEC. I love the SEC. I do. I don't care. I absolutely love the SEC.
Break it down for us.
Well, it does just mean more. I think the SEC this year, man, you talk about the Big 12 being right up there in terms of depth. Where the SEC has it beat, obviously, is in terms of its top end talent. But like for me on this list where you go 1 through 6, any of these teams could win it. And like, I do want to preface, I have South Carolina 5, Alabama 6, but I do have Alabama at 10-2 and South Carolina at 9-3, because I do think South Carolina drops that last game to Clemson. So even though Alabama 6 and South Carolina's 5, I do think Bama like will be a higher ranked team by the time the college football playoff rolls around, and probably also above Florida. So even though this is the standings projection based on the numbers and whatnot, I think Bama will be a higher ranked team than South Carolina and Florida. But I digress. Georgia number 1 and Georgia as the title winner because it's simply them until proven otherwise. Georgia has turned into the Kansas City Chiefs, where they're going to drop a game in the regular season that they shouldn't have dropped, and they're not going to look as crazy explosive as they once did, or they're not going to, make your eyeballs pop like they used to. And when the season is over, they are going to be in a championship game of some kind. Like last year was the year that if you were going to knock them off, that had to be the year, right? Like they got blitzed by Ole Miss. They should have lost to Georgia Tech. They were playing the number one ranked team in the country, Texas, in the championship game. And at halftime of that championship game, they lost their starting quarterback, and they still won in overtime. Like they just find a way to make it work every single year. And even though Carson Beck is gone, Gunnar Stockton's a guy who's not new to the program and at least won them that championship game. For me, what stands out about Georgia is not necessarily what they lost, but one player in particular, man. I think Zachariah Branch is going to be the best thing to happen to this offense since Brock Bowers left. He's just such a dynamic playmaker, because when you think of Georgia, you think of kind of death by 1,000 paper cuts. They're going to run the ball. They're going to be hard-nosed physical, and then they're going to hit you over the middle. They haven't had a real deep threat since like George Pickens was there. I like Dylan quite a lot, but Zachariah Branch is going to be their Swiss Army knife. They're going to get to do so much cool stuff with him. And their schedule is tough, but Kirby's just the guy I trust more than anybody else in the SEC right now. So it's simply them until proven otherwise. I like Texas. I do. They would not be my number 1 ranked team in the preseason because there's a lot of unknown with Arch Manning. And I know you like Texas a lot. So again, I'll let you take the floor when the time comes. But for me, like I give the edge to LSU because I just know what they are. Like, yes, Brian Kelly is not everybody's cup of tea. In 6 months, we might be up here, talking about the same old things, banging the table. But like, they're so ridiculously talented. I don't see a world where they don't win 10 games. And in my mind, I feel like that's good enough to get them in the title game, especially because they get a team like Alabama at home. And Florida just doesn't move me the way that they move. I know I have them ranked highly, but like I think LSU should beat Florida, and they also should beat Alabama. So I think LSU is in a position where their talent will put them over the top in terms of getting to the title game. But by the time the title game rolls around, and then by the time the playoff rolls around, I think their coaching might be their undoing. And then obviously Alabama, Florida, even South Carolina, these are really talented teams and well-coached teams. But there's going to be so much cannibalism in the SEC. It's a matter of like who's able to just win that one extra game to get over the top. I just give the nod to LSU, but I got Georgia beating LSU for the title because it's them until it's not.
That's valid. All right. So I'm pushing my chips all in, right? And I'm saying both in the Big Ten and in the SEC that we're going to see something that really we have not seen proven and we've yet to see before. We've yet to see Penn State win the big game and dominate in the Big Ten, right? And now you have an addition of teams. It's the biggest league in college football with 18 teams. I'm thinking we're going to see the same thing in the SEC. I'm calling for Texas to win the SEC in the regular season, and I think it's LSU that's going to meet them in the SEC championship game. I have Texas going in there 8-0 in conference play. LSU also undefeated in conference play. I have Alabama third, South Carolina fourth, the Florida Gators at fifth, and I have Georgia all the way at six. I have Georgia going 9-3 in the regular season, and I have them going 5-3 in SEC play. Let me tell you about the game that really makes this whole recipe come together. Week 11, Bryant-Denny Stadium, LSU, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, at that point in the season,
right?
yes, essentially at that point in the season, winner goes to the SEC title game. If how I think things are going to play out end up playing out. And I have LSU going in there, big game Brian Kelly, taking down Alabama, getting huge redemption from last season when Alabama went into Death Valley and ran it down their throats. Jalen Milroe had a field day and scored 4 touchdowns on the ground. I think LSU is going to come in a different kind of hungry because that was the make or break game for them last season. Mm-hmm. It was either we're going to stay in playoff contention or we're going to crumble. And they crumbled. Like they weren't even in that game. They blinked and were down 21-3. I think LSU has that in the back of their minds. I think Garrett Nussmeier came back for a reason. I think the LSU defense is going to be a bright spot. I think the receiving room, as always, is going to be one of the best in the country. I like LSU a lot. I like Texas to win the league, but I like LSU to go into Bryant-Denny Stadium, win that game, and punch their ticket to the SEC championship game. But again, one more look: South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Texas A&M. That's a sleeper for me. Texas A&M, and I'd say Oklahoma, maybe Ole Miss. Texas A&M and Oklahoma. If things work out at Oklahoma with John Mateer and things materialize the way that some people are thinking things will, Brent Venables might have a crew this year. Like, what if they're off to like a 6-0 start? And then we start talking about Oklahoma, because if you look at their schedule, that's very possible.
Right.
And then Texas A&M, it's like they've been so close. Mike Elko, we've said, is the right coach. It's always going to be a good defense. Do they have the right piece at quarterback? And can the Aggies make some noise?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think Oklahoma definitely has an easy first month and a half, 2 months-ish of the schedule. But then when you get into SEC play, it's just hard to find wins over the big dogs that they play. Texas A&M, I think, is very talented, but I also think they lost a lot of their best guys to the NFL. And I like Marcel Reed a lot as a quarterback. I love Mike Elko as a coach. But again, is it kind of hard to find the wins against the big dogs? Luckily, they get some of those big dogs at home, but it's kind of like I need to see it to believe it. I know Texas A&M was a whisker and a hair away from playing for the title last year, but they had a ton of breaks along the way to get to that position. So I think it's another kind of prove I need to see it to believe it type of situation. South Carolina, I think, is a team that's got a real shot to make some noise. I actually have South Carolina beating Alabama at home this year. So I agree with you that Alabama could lose some of these big games that knocks them out of contention for the league title. South Carolina, in my opinion, is one of those games because they've got one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Lenora Sellers and maybe the best defensive player in the league in Dylan Stewart. So they've got dogs all over the place as well. You know, who knows if Nick Harbor finally turns his speed into actually being a good wide receiver in the SEC. That would be something to behold. It's a pretty deep in that top 8. Anybody could make it. And then the bottom is just like, it's not good. Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, these teams. Auburn could be better this year with Jackson Arnold coming over from Oklahoma, but I don't really see it either. I just know that every week is going to be a heavyweight fight in the SEC. And like,
oh, it's unreal. It's unreal.
I've kind of grown to stop hating the Southeastern Conference. Like when I grew up, I'm like, oh my God, they get the benefit of the doubt and all these things. And they do. Honestly, like by the time the season rolls around, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe 6 of the top 10 are in the SEC. But then I'm like, it probably makes sense. Like these are the best teams. It's turned into the NFL G League. So I can't wait to watch the SEC every week. I know last week I said I'd rather watch like Duke, Carolina over Georgia, Auburn, but I will have 2 screens going on Saturdays. That's for darn sure.
I'll tell you what, though, Jackson Arnold's going to have someone to throw the ball to.
Oh yeah, yeah. Cam Coleman's a dog.
Cam Coleman's a beast.
He's
absolutely,
insane.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't even sleep on like Vanderbilt. Like they're not going to make any kind of playoff noise, but like Diego Pavi's back for one more year, and that man thinks he can win the Super Bowl too. So
he does. Yeah, week 2 is keeping me up at night already.
You got to watch that SEC show on Netflix. It's unreal.
I've been meaning to get around to. Honestly, I need to ingest a lot more football outside of like what I do from a got it covered perspective and from a writing perspective. When at night, when I'm just like scrolling through TikTok, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should just unwind and turn on a good old fashioned. Give me a Clark Lee, pregame hype up to get me going at night.
There you go. There you go. All right, we've broken down our conference winners. Let's go one more time through it. Clemson for both of us, Arizona State for both of us. You got Ohio State in the Big Ten. I got Penn State. And then in the SEC, you want Georgia. And I have Texas. Next up, let's break all that down into our playoff predictions. This is what our brackets look like. Raza, first for you. Raza Umarani's official prediction for his college football playoff bracket this season. What do you see?
I see a format that I'm not a big fan of. I do think that I also know that's not necessarily what you asked me, but I had to get it off my chest. I do not like the 12-team playoff as a whole, and then I'm not a huge fan of the change they made of everything being ranked straight. I understand that Arizona State and Boise State maybe didn't quote unquote deserve first-round byes last year, but I think if you win a conference title, that has to mean something other than just getting an automatic bid. And then I still think, even if you're going to seed this thing straight, this should be reseeded after the first round. But I digress. What you see on screen is just the kind of manifestation of the standings predictions that you just showed, Giovanni. I think Ohio State and Clemson will be your 13-0 teams heading into the playoff, and I think Georgia gets in at 12-1. I think Notre Dame gets that last bye. We haven't talked about them because we're talking so much about conferences, but we all know Notre Dame is crazy talented. They did God's work in the transfer portal. They got a little bit of a question mark at quarterback, but Marcus Freeman's a dog, and they should be back in the playoff definitely with a very manageable schedule. So I think they're able to get that 4th bye, probably at 11-1, maybe 12-0, but the committee would probably honor a conference title over anything Notre Dame does, sitting on their butts on championship weekend. And then the rest of it, honestly, is an SEC fest. You've got LSU, you've got Texas, you've got Alabama in there. I think Penn State will be the last team without a bye because they'll have 2 losses after the title game. Oregon, I have at 11-1. Again, I said that I had them at 3rd in the Big Ten. I think they're still going to be behind Penn State because they didn't get to a conference title game. Same reason they're behind LSU at 6. Arizona State gets a home game at 8 because they won the conference title over Texas, who doesn't even play for a conference title. And then Florida is my last team of the Power 4 to get in, just because I think their losses might look better than those first 2 out I mentioned, or that are in the bottom of the screen, Miami and Illinois. And my group of 5 representative is Dan Mullen's UNLV.
Yes,
this is a team that is just completely new. Like, if you go through their roster, everybody is a transfer. And they were good last year. Like, they were on the doorstep of the college football playoff last year if they were able to pull an upset against Boise State in the title game. I think this year the Mountain West actually runs through UNLV. They got a bit of a quarterback battle right now between Alex Orji and Anthony Calandria, who's our favorite quarterback in the world, obviously. I think they're going to make it work, and I think Mullen's coaching will get them over the top in the Mountain West. So give me UNLV to make the college football playoff and represent the group of 5.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Great bracket. Great bracket.
Oh, I try. Thank you.
I love too you peek at it one more time. It makes sense where you put everybody, right? With your 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I vibe with it. All right. This is my big reveal for the 2025 college football playoff bracket predictions. We don't agree, and we shouldn't, right? Because then what would we ever have to talk about?
Exactly.
Here we go. I have my 1 seed being the Texas Longhorns after an SEC title victory, 13-0, 9-0 total in SEC play with that conference championship. Huge wins at Ohio State to open the season. I got the Longhorns going in and taking down the Buckeyes at Florida, at Oklahoma, at Georgia, against Texas A&M. Give me the Longhorns with the number 1 overall seed. I got Penn State at the 2. I take them as the Big Ten champions. I just think that this team is so talented, and then they added onto it, right? Everybody's coming back. What couldn't we do terrifically well? Some downfield passing. What are we going to do? Bolster the wide receiver room and give Drew Aller plenty of tools and toys to play with, on top of arguably one of the best backfields, if not the best backfield in college football, with Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, on top of a great defense. I like it. I like it a lot. I got Penn State the 2. The 3, I take Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame 12-0, clean sweep of the regular season. I think Notre Dame's loaded. They're going through a quarterback battle right now. CJ Carr and Kenny Mitchell. We just saw today that they're saying Kenny Minchey might be getting the slight edge over CJ Carr. We'll see how it all plays out, but I like Notre Dame. Big wins at Miami. That's the start of the year, against Texas A&M, against USC. After the first 2 weeks, Notre Dame's schedule lightens up. Like, their 2 hardest games are right off the rip. They play at Miami and against Texas A&M in South Bend. And then after that, it's pretty smooth sailing. I like them to get through the first 2 weeks and then kind of coast the rest of the year. I got Clemson at the 4. Obviously the ACC champ. LSU for me is the first team that is without the bye. 11-2, SEC runner-up. Their losses, I think they're going to lose at Clemson to start, and I think they're going to lose to Texas at home in Death Valley. And then their big wins against Florida, at Ole Miss, against South Carolina. I think, again, they're going to win that big one at Alabama week 11 to punch their ticket to the SEC title. I think they'll beat A&M. I think they'll win at Oklahoma. My 6th seed, I got the Ohio State Buckeyes, 10-3, 8-2. That's the Big Ten runner-up. Loss against Texas, and then they lose to Penn State twice. They lose to Penn State in the shoe, and they lose to Penn State in the Big Ten title game. I think you're licking your chops if you're an Indy Lion fan, and if you're a Buckeye fan, you're probably rolling your eyes and laughing, saying, show it, because we've never seen it before. And that's a pretty fair argument. Alabama is the 7 for me, 11-1 in the regular season, 7-1 in SEC play. They just missed the SEC championship game due to that loss to LSU. Ty Simpson, I think he really gets things going. If they get better than adequate, if they get good quarterback play, this roster is good enough to be the 7th seed in the college football playoff and maybe make a run to the national championship. Wins at Georgia, at South Carolina, and against Oklahoma. Big loss to LSU. I got Oregon as the 8, 11-1 in the Big Ten, 8-1 in the Big Ten play. Dante Moore, we'll see what he looks like at quarterback. I think Oregon, the big thing for me, Raza, very favorable schedule. They avoid Ohio State. They avoid Michigan. They avoid Illinois. They avoid Nebraska. Their hardest games are at Penn State. You can chalk it up as a whiteout loss. Against Indiana, they get them in Eugene. At Iowa, definitely not going to be an easy one at Kinnick. And then against USC, but they get that one at home. So I have Oregon as the 8. I have them losing just one game in the regular season. That's at Penn State. Arizona State for me is the 9. And I have them as low as the 9 because I have them actually going 11-2, 8-2 in Big 12 play. I have them as the Big 12 champ. I have them beating Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship game. But their losses, to me, I just don't think Arizona State is talented and deep enough to, like, not drop a couple of duds, right? They'll get up for the big games. I have them losing at Utah. You know, it's a tough place to play. And I have them dropping a head scratcher at Colorado. I just think that that's what happens when you're not a deep, team built like an SEC Big Ten caliber team. You drop one you shouldn't, but it's a very winnable league. They do just that and get into the playoff with the 9 seed. South Carolina is the 10 for me, 9-3, 6-2. Losses to Clemson, Alabama, and at LSU. When you lose to 3 playoff teams and win the rest of your games, you probably should be in, and that's what Lenora Sellers and the South Carolina Gamecocks do. Georgia Tech for me is the 11. This is where This is where this is a team that's not even on yours. 10-3 on the year, 7-2 at ACC play. They're the ACC runner-up. Losses to Georgia and Clemson twice. Wins at Colorado, at Duke, against Syracuse. Super favorable schedule. My fear is it's not a strong enough resume to get them into the playoff. That's my only downfall with Georgia Tech, because they avoid Miami, they avoid Louisville, they avoid SMU, they avoid Florida State. 46th schedule nationally. Is it enough to get the Yellow Jackets in? They might need to win one game better, but we'll see. And then UNLV is my 12. Mountain West Conference champs, Dan Mullen, baby. This is how it's going to play out, right? 12-1 regular, 12-1 on the year, 8-1 in Mountain West play, 11-1 regular season. You lose at Boise State on October 18th. You get revenge by running the table and then beating Boise State at their own place again in the Mountain West Championship game. Big win against UCLA early in the year. That's at the Death Star, week 3 on September 6th. And I like UNLV to go to the college football playoff. Raza, I'm curious to talk about the two teams that each of us have just on the outside. For me, it was Illinois and Florida. For you, who was it again? You'll have to remind me.
It was Illinois and Miami, so very similar.
Illinois and Miami. Why are they just on the edge and not in?
I think Miami will be in a position in the conference championship game against Clemson where if you win, obviously you automatically get in. I think it's a position for them where it's more than just an automatic qualifier. Like if they were to lose maybe close, they might get an edge over a team like Florida, for example.
So like SMU last year.
Kind of like SMU last year. But I think that it would be hard, obviously, to kind of ding a team for losing a conference championship because at least they got there. But like Florida, for example, I think if it comes down to Florida and Miami, well, then the tie goes to whoever won the game in the regular season. And I think that Florida wins that game in the regular season. So that's my rationale with Miami. I think they're just going to miss it because they lose the conference championship and then lose to Florida earlier in the year. And then Illinois, I think you and I can agree on, is like a team that's very talented, very well coached. They're going to have a good, they just won 10 games last year at Illinois. Yeah. That's no small potatoes. So I think they're going to be able to run it back and have a 9-10 win season this year, but just not good enough to get an at-large over a team like a Alabama, like a Florida, like a Texas, because they just don't have the resume that stacks up against them, because they're going to lose that game to Ohio State. And they're not going to have a marquee win on their schedule necessarily. So I think that holds them back from getting in as well.
Yeah, same story for me with Illinois, 10-2 in the regular season, 8-1 in Big Ten play. They finished 4th in the Big Ten. Wins at Indiana and against USC, but who did you beat? I have them losing at Duke, actually. I have their two losses to Ohio State and at Duke. I think we're going to learn a lot about both Duke and Illinois when those two square off pretty early, because we're high on both of them. We really are. Mm-hmm. And I think there's very fair reason to be high on both of them. And I just think not that Duke's a tough place to play, but I think they're starting to buy in more. And Illinois fans this isn't an ACC game where they're playing like NC State. Illinois fans aren't going to travel to Duke because Illinois fans are fairly fair weather as well. So I think it's going to be a pretty great Duke crowd. And I think the Blue Devils get the advantage. I think they have the better quarterback, honestly, which is crazy to say with Illinois having Luke Altmaier.
It's crazy. But you know what they say? You know where Illinois students spend their Saturday afternoons?
Where?
The library.
Yeah, I figured you were gonna say that. There you go.
Yeah. My dad went there, so I would know.
Oh, okay. There you go. Because like I would think like Vanderbilt students maybe. I was like, is Illinois prestigious academically?
Listen, you're either good on the gridiron or you're good in the classroom. Very few are good at both. Illinois is better in but they're on their way. They're on their way, and so is Duke. This is the nerd battle of the century. I actually can't wait to watch that. Like I have that is a marquee in this household, marquee non-conference game.
You can be good on the gridiron. You can be good in the classroom, but when you're good at that and on the lacrosse field, you're a Syracuse Orangeman.
Exactly.
And on the basketball court.
True. Well, Maybe not for a few years.
Maybe not in recent time.
You never know. You never know. Kyan Anthony, shout out.
True. All right, and then I have Florida as that second team out, 9-3 in the regular season, 5-3 in the SEC. Crazy that the fifth place team in the SEC is just barely missing the playoff, right? But their wins are against Tennessee, at Ole Miss, Georgia, and Miami are the marquee wins. Losses, you just need to win one of these marquee games, and I don't know if I see them doing it. I mean, Georgia's a great win. Miami's probably a strong win, but I don't see them beating Texas. I have them losing at Texas A&M because it's in College Station, and I have them losing at LSU because it's in Death Valley. These games are at the Swamp. We might be punching DJ Lagway's ticket with the 6th seed, but they're not. They're not. Their toughest games are all on the road, unfortunately, for the Gators. And then Georgia, you don't even get at home either. It's on a neutral site. I have them winning the game, but that's never easy either. So that's where I have Florida shaping up. If I had like a 15th team, would have been Michigan. I know you're not going to agree with this. And they might actually have a better resume than Florida, but I think Florida's strength of schedule and record is a little bit larger. Because I have Michigan at 10-2 and 8-1 in conference play. But again, it goes down to Florida having a stronger schedule in my thoughts. Man, that's fun, though. That was fun to do all the math and all the algorithms and put all that together to make those playoff brackets.
Because that's a problem I have with today's, like, again, with all due respect to the members of the media, so many times you will just put names on a list and not think of how you're getting there. Like, if you're going to have team X above team Y, but they play each other in the regular season and you think team Y is going to beat them and maybe get one extra win, like, why are you don't rank based on talent or anything like that. Like, just work through the schedule and do the math. Like,
yeah, there's websites that help you do it.
Dude, I'm not smart enough to do this on my own. Like, I use all the websites in the world. And then when it comes to making the playoff, like, why do you think like all the teams like 1 through 6 are going to be in the SEC? Like, or if you think Notre Dame's going to go undefeated, shouldn't they be a top 2 seed? Like, all of these things. So take the 30 seconds and let the computer handle it, and then put it together. So you're right. I'm glad we did that, because it makes, we at the end of the day are just putting this into a computer and letting it spit it out. But at least that is better than just going blind. So it was a lot of fun. And I think it seems like when you look at it from this perspective, it's like more realistic than if you just have all these other teams randomly placed.
It's time.
It is.
To talk Heisman.
That's pretty.
Fire me up for the Heisman Memorial Trophy conversation. Raza, break it down for us. This is who you have winning the Heisman and the others taking the trip to New York City.
Yeah, I've been on the Nuss bus for a while now. Gio, if you don't mind, can I embarrass myself really quickly?
Of course.
Okay.
Are you going to go, Heisman?
No, I've thought about it. I'm going to take us in the old time machine and take us back about 24 months ago. I was on a college football preview podcast with my good friend Liam Blutman, who now works at Barstool. So shout out to Liam. And we were talking about LSU. And again, this is 2023. I said that I think Garrett Nussmeier gave them a better shot to win than Jaden Daniels did. Jaden ended up having the greatest season in college football history. So, and now is, the reason I get up in the morning. So
The saving grace of your poverty franchise.
So I was wrong. But maybe I wasn't wrong. I was just early. It's not that Garrett Nussmeier gave them a better chance to win than Jaden Daniels did. It's that 2 years later, Garrett Nussmeier is now going to have a Jaden Daniels type season, which I think is entirely possible. Obviously not from a rushing perspective, but Nuss is he's a quarterback's quarterback. I have said all summer long, I think Nussmeier wins the Heisman. I think he's the number 1 pick in next year's draft in the NFL. I think it's a Joe Burrow type of ascension, not necessarily in terms of team success, but in terms of winning a Heisman Trophy and stamping your place as the best quarterback and stamping that number 1 pick in the NFL draft. There's an embarrassment of riches on the offensive side of the ball for the Nuss bus. I think he's a very talented quarterback. He can sling it all over the rock. He can sling the rock all over the field. They have wide receivers out the wazoo to throw the ball to. LSU is going to be good. Like, we both have LSU in the title game. We both have LSU in the playoff. I think the marquee games in the SEC, despite not going undefeated or anything like that, like we just saw Travis Hunter win the Heisman with what, a 9-3 record in the regular season, something like that. Maybe they were 8-4.
Yeah.
Like, this is the year it kind of goes back to a quarterback award. But in the age of conference realignment, you don't have to be the best player on the best team to win the Heisman. So I think even though LSU will not be the number 1 team, they'll probably be the number 6 or 7 team in the country. And Nussmeier will have the best stats. He'll be the best quarterback. And I think Garrett Nussmeier, look at him sling the rock. Like, he's a good player, man. I think Garrett Nussmeier takes home the Heisman. But obviously, I do think Jeremiah Smith will be in the conversation because, like I said, I think he's the best offensive player in the country. I think he's the best player in the country, point blank, period. I think Cade Klubnik at Clemson will be just as productive as he was a year ago, and that will be enough to get him in the Heisman conversation as well as being one of the 2 undefeated teams in the country, but they might give the nod to the SEC guy over the ACC guy, even though they actually do go head to head to start the season, which I can't wait to watch. And then my other finalist was Sam Levitt, because again, I just love the kid. I think a true dual threat ability means a lot of production. I think you're right about Scatterbo leaving kind of opens the door for Levitt to have some more production on the ground as well. So Klubnik and Levitt kind of fit into the dual threat quarterback conversation. Jeremiah Smith is just going to continue doing what he does, which is being an absolute force on the football field at the young age of 19 or 20. But I give Nuss the edge over everybody because I just think he's going to have the best numbers and be the best looking quarterback en route to being the number 1 pick in next year's draft.
The Nuss bus. Dude's a dog. You got to watch that show because you get to know Garrett Nussmeier pretty well. And I think we're all going to be rooting for him quite a bit this year. So awesome, too, that he decided to come back. I think he's coming back with unfinished business.
For sure.
And because he could have gone to the league.
He could have. And I've been clearly calling for him to start for longer than maybe I should have. But also, like, I mean, you're talking about a guy that sat for 3 years, finally got a shot last year, really had a good year, is going to be better this year. Like, it kind of feels, I don't want to compare him, but it feels like Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow sat for 3 years at Ohio State, came to LSU, had a good, not great 2018 season, and then completely tore it up in 2019. Who's to say that the same thing doesn't happen in Nussmeier and he becomes the 3rd and now a line of LSU quarterbacks to win the Heisman? It just feels like it makes sense.
Joe Shiesty got hit so hard against UCF, it knocked the sense right into him. Now he's one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. All right. This is who I got for my Heisman in 2025. Give me the kid. Give me the kid. Jeremiah Smith of the Ohio State University. Now, listen, I know this is a quarterback award. But I think that Jeremiah Smith is the most NFL-ready player in college football right now at just 19 years of age. He's built like an NFL wide receiver. His arms are the size of Raz's afro. Okay. He goes up and high points the football and pulls it down with one hand against big, strong Big Ten defensive backs. He's next level. We saw a wide receiver win it last year. Now, that wide receiver also is an unbelievable cornerback as well. But we also saw a wide receiver win it in 2020 with Devonta Smith. So it's not impossible. But I also think that Jeremiah Smith is just plain and simple the best player in college football. If Julian Sayin is good enough to get him the ball, look out. I think you upgrade in the passing game from Will Howard to Julian Sayin. I don't think Will Howard was a blow-you-away arm talent.
No.
Now you got a big-time quarterback slinging you the rock. If it's not this year, it's definitely next year for Jeremiah Smith. I think he's going to be unbelievable. I have Cade Klubnik going to New York City as well. I think he has a great year for Clemson, just absolutely tears up the ACC. We've seen this steady growth out of Klubnik, and then I think it all just culminates and clicks this year. I have Jeremiah Love. I think Notre Dame depends on him in a lot of ways, and he is probably outside of Jeremiah Smith, the freakiest athlete in the country. When he's hurdling people, he's not just hurdling them. He's clearing them by like 2 feet.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
that touchdown run he had against Penn State where he like refused to go down from like the 2-yard line, like the 5 different guys couldn't bring him down. When I watched that, I was like, well, that might be the greatest 3-yard touchdown run I've ever watched in my life. Like he's next level. He's a first round talent at running back for sure.
Yeah, he's unreal. So I have Jeremiah Love really leading the way for Notre Dame en route to, again, I have them as a top 4 team in the college football playoffs this year. And then I have Arch Manning. I'll drink the Kool-Aid. I'll buy into the Arch Manning hype. I think the thing with Arch is you see it with the AP, and it's not the same voters, so I don't want to get that confused. But the media is going to love Arch.
Yeah, they already do.
He's going to throw a 10-yard touchdown pass, and the media is going to say he's the next coming of, I don't want to say Tom Brady because he might as well just be the second coming of his Uncle Peyton.
Exactly.
Or Eli if we're playing Tom Brady in a Super Bowl, you know.
Good point.
So with the last name Manning and all the media attention it's going to get, I don't see a situation where he doesn't get voted for if they're as successful as I say they're going to be. I have them not losing a game and getting into the college football playoff with the number 1 seed. How does the quarterback with the last name Manning not end up in New York City?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't even know that he's going to blow you away with what you see out of him. I do think he's going to be special. I think the spurts we saw last year, he really is a dual threat. Like he can tuck it and run. And he's kind of like
to bring down.
And he's got those Trevor Lawrence strides. Remember how Trevor Lawrence like didn't look that fast until all of a sudden he's running past everybody on the field.
Yeah, he's big, he's strong, he's hard to bring down. Trevor Lawrence, that's a fantastic comp because I have PTSD of Lawrence.
Yeah,
that long touchdown run against Ohio State in the
That's the one that comes to mind.
Like he runs that way. He's very hard to bring down. My only thing is just like we've not seen him play. Not really.
That's fine. That's
like
fine.
He started that one game against Colorado State. He was really inexplicably brought in to face Georgia in that regular season game in Austin, which made no sense. And then they went back to Quinn Ewers. Like I've seen so many high-level guys come in and not succeed. I think Texas is in a place where it would be really hard for him to not succeed. I don't need to, with all the other guys that I mentioned, I know already that they're good because I've seen it. I've not seen Arch yet. So I can't put my faith in a guy I just don't know about yet. And I can't wait to watch him work. I think, like you said, he's going to be a dog, but I can't put my eggs in the basket that's behind a closed door. You know, maybe this year we'll learn week 1 what he's made of. And
yeah,
if Texas goes into Ohio State, if Texas goes into the shoe, wins that game, he's the Heisman favorite for the rest of the year until they're knocked off. Like, especially if he goes and balls out against an Ohio State defense that, despite losing a lot of talent, still going to be really good. We're going to learn a lot in the very first game, the first meaningful football he's ever played, at least at starting quarterback. I can't wait to watch it because I think you're right. It's not just the media that's going to love it. Everybody's going to. Kid's last name is Manning, for crying out loud. Everybody wants him to succeed.
Right. I actually am a believer that when Quinn got hurt last year, he should have never come back to the starting role.
Really?
And a lot of people say, well, if that was the case, then Arch would have played. I think Steve Sarkisian, you think about his background, the things he's been through, the people that have given him second chances, things like that. There's a level of loyalty between Sark and Quinn Ewers that he was not willing to sacrifice. And you have to remember, too, Quinn was still the leader of that locker room, undoubtedly. And sometimes the veteran experience on top of your locker room leader being the one out there and not wanting to sacrifice losing the locker room at all. Or, you know, it's a situation where if you put in Arch, you showed everybody in that locker room something, right? And I don't think that was a choice that Steve Sarkisian was willing to do. I think deep down, he knew Arch was probably the better talent, maybe gave them a better chance to win offensively, but Quinn was the glue guy. He was loyal to Quinn, and he said, this is Quinn's year. Quinn's going to get us to the finish line so long as he can suit up. I think that's what happened.
And then it didn't really work out in the end.
And it didn't really work out.
It's not Quinn's. I mean, I hate to blame him, but like you and I talked off the air that, you know, Ewers was the highest rated quarterback recruit in the history of college football. Like that's, again, not small potatoes. And Ohio State wasn't the place. I actually watched all 3 of Quinn Ewers' snaps at Ohio State that he took. They were all handoffs, brilliant handoffs by Quinn Ewers. And he was never the guy at Texas that he was billed to be, even though he went home and he linked up with Sark and all these things. It just never really panned out. Last year was a great year for them, but it wasn't a great year for Quinn necessarily. And then we all know how it ended. So I think maybe you're right that if the talent upgrade is there with Arch, then the sky is the limit. But Quinn was also very talented when he got to Texas. So who knows if that ceiling is being raised or not. I have high hopes for them. I think their offensive talent is ridiculous, even with the guys that they lost to the draft this past year. So Arch could get there. Again, I just need to see it to believe it.
Sure. Totally fair. Totally fair. All right, let's talk dark horses for the Heisman. Like, who are we sleeping on? Who are names that you did not mention? And we'll keep it brief here, but who are names that we did not mention that that you think could get there and find their way to New York City?
Yeah, there were a few that came to mind, but I'll keep it brief and give you 2, one on each side of the ball. I always think a defensive player deserves a shot. Like if you're the best defensive player in the country, you should probably go to New York the way that like Chase Young has, and even Travis Hunter last year, and a lot of these other top dogs have gone. And Ndamukong Suh, for example, the best defensive player in the country is Caleb Downs. I think if he puts together a campaign similar to what he had last year, he deserves a shot, especially if he returns a couple punts for a touchdown for touchdowns.
Yeah. I think that's you have to do that. I think.
Yeah, the Jabril,
especially as a safety, because you're not a linebacker where you can lead the nation in tackles, or you know what I mean.
Yeah, but if it's like a Jabril Peppers type of situation where he also scores a bunch of touchdowns, he probably deserves a shot to get there as well. And then an offensive player that, again, we're talking about dark horses, right? So like, I'm not thinking of, people are like, oh, maybe DJ Lagway can get there. I'm like, dude, that's DJ freaking Lagway. Of course he has a shot to get. You look at what Indiana did last year with Curtis Rourke, who was, I think, had the best QBR in the country last year. Kurt Cignetti knows how to play with his quarterbacks a little bit. Give me Fernando Mendoza. I think he was really good last year.
He was good at Cal.
But it's Cal, so nobody really cared. Now he gets to link up with Sig and like Elijah Surratt and all the offensive talent that they have over there at Indiana. I think the Hoosiers are going to be a really good team in the Big Ten this year. If Mendoza goes out there and throws for 4,500 yards and 45 touchdowns, I think he should go as well, because it's a quarterback award, and with that type of production, there's a chance Mendoza has either the top QBR in the country, maybe the top passing yardage mark in the country. Like last year, we saw Kyle McCord get Heisman votes because even at Syracuse, he led the entire nation in passing yards. I think he was up there in touchdowns as well. Like that merits votes. And I think if he puts together enough production, it could be enough to get to New York. So we'll see. I think he's a good player. I think Indiana is a good team. And I think that's a guy that should not be under the, like, if type.
Yeah. No, that's very valid. I have a guy like that as well that I'm excited to bring up. My others considered, so to speak, were Garrett Nussmeier, who you picked to win it. If I'm picking one more guy to get there, if you can bring 5 finalists instead of 4, Garrett Nussmeier is that guy for me. And there's definitely a case where if Arch isn't Arch, then Nuss is that guy that's going to New York City, no doubt. There's a reason why Arch was the last one there for me. And then I think Drew Aller. Yeah, I think he's going to grow up a little bit. We saw him make some mistakes last year. We saw him basically cost his team with that turnover in the playoff.
Yes.
But I think that with the upgrades at wide receiver, there's just so many toys for him to play with, man. Like he could have a field day, whether he's slinging it to Katron Allen or Nick Singleton out of the backfield, or I just think the downfield passing upgrade with what they added at wide receiver. I've seen firsthand Trevor Pena play and tear it up for the Syracuse Orange. They stole a dog, and I'm happy that he's being compensated handsomely, so he deserves it. Good for you. Get yours, Trevor Pena.
The all NIL package.
Yeah. So I think that Drew Aller is the others considered for me, but you want to talk dark horses. I have Sam Levitt as a dark horse just because I don't know if so many people are sold, and it goes down to the branding. He has the Arizona State logo next to his name, and it just doesn't hold the same weight that it does with everybody else at these big powerhouse schools, right?
Right.
I was gonna say DJ Lagway and Lenora Sellers, but whatever.
Now I'm the bad guy. Gosh darn it.
Whatever. No. I got another one. If we said that the wide receiver is gonna have a chance, who says Ryan Williams can't be in the conversation?
He's ridiculous.
He's a two completely different athletes. Him and Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah, but insane in their own ways.
Insane in their own ways, and they're both equally youthful. Jeremiah Smith is going to beat you physically, and Ryan Williams is savvy, and he just like floats. I just cannot describe that play against Georgia where he literally floated. Like, it was unbelievable.
I think
it was like a deer.
The dead leg spin move. It might be the greatest move I've ever seen on a football field. Period. I was gonna say college football, but like, you'd have to show me a better. He made two Georgia defenders run into each other. That's unreal. Insane. It's insane.
After a crazy catch.
And then he had the acceleration to score. Like, it's nuts. He's ridiculous. Like, most deserving duo on a cover of a video game I've ever seen in my life. Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith on College Football 26. Like, yeah, I guess when you talk about like dark horses, anybody that's not a quarterback could really fit the bill. I think if it would be a receiver not named Jeremiah Smith, like maybe Ryan Wingo from Texas could get the job done. Jordan Tyson at Arizona State could get the job done. There are a lot of guys who can be that level. Ryan Williams has the athletic profile and the branding, to your point, to get there.
And then I got one more for you. John Mateer.
Oh, the Venmo man.
Dude was slinging it at Washington State last year, and he's sneaky good on the ground as well.
Yeah. Washington State just keeps on pumping out court. They might be quarterback university, like, but on the hockey assist.
Yeah. With Cam Ward. I think you could. Here's the big game. Michigan's gonna go to Oklahoma. If Oklahoma wins that game and Mateer's looking pretty good, people are gonna start going, how about this John Mateer guy? And then
we're already talking about John Mateer for the wrong reasons, though, but not great. But that's aside from the point.
Bro, it has to be fake. It has to be fake.
I don't think it's fake. He did come out and say that it was a joke. And I'm like, yeah, on the day that this game actually happened, though, like, it doesn't.
Yeah,
listen, I think we should get off
as sports gambling.
Stranger things have happened.
Bro, so, even when I Venmo you, I'll Venmo you like a shark emoji for you getting a cup of Starbucks. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like,
that was my point. It's like, dude,
he's a college football player. He would not. I don't know. If you're gonna do it, you're not gonna Venmo it like that.
Yeah, and I think he's not gonna face like disciplinary action or anything like that. Like, he'll play in that game against Michigan. I think you're right. He was extremely productive at Washington State. He's gonna be very productive at Oklahoma. But tough schedule in the SEC, and there's so many like higher caliber quarterbacks. I think he can do it because we've seen him be super productive. Like, this is kind of the situation we had last year with Cam Ward, but we were like, yeah, if he can do what he did at Washington State, maybe he can be a Heisman contender. And then he was better. So we'll see what happens.
Fair enough. That concludes our Heisman conversation. How about the biggest games of the year to be on the lookout for? We're talking biggest games with the largest implications. I think that there's probably a list of like 8 to 10 biggest games. And I think the first one is obviously Texas at Ohio State week 1.
Yeah, I think the two biggest ones for me are both week 1.
Yeah, fair.
Texas, Ohio State at noon, which is a disgrace, by the way. And then LSU Clemson at 7:30. Like, those are the two games that are going to set the tone for so many of these big name programs. I mean, the SEC could face a disaster in week 1 if Texas loses to Ohio State and LSU loses to Clemson, which I think is going to happen. I think both of those teams are going to be fine. Don't get me wrong, but I will take the home team in both of those games. Don't even get me started if Alabama loses to Florida State. That would be awful.
Not going to happen.
But in the non-conference, that's about as big as it gets. Obviously, Notre Dame plays Miami as well. I think that's the Sunday, or maybe it's on Labor Day.
Yeah, I have that as a big. I have that as one of the biggest games too, because of how much we're going to learn, mostly about Miami. We know Notre Dame's going to be good. We're going to learn a lot about Miami.
Yeah, if Miami wins that game, a playoff spot would be theirs to lose. I just don't think that they're going to get it done. So as far as the non-conference goes, that's what I would give it to. I think the game of the year in the Big Ten is, like I said, Penn State at Ohio State. There's a chance that's a 1v2. I think it was like 3v4 last year. Like, it's going to be a massive
1st.
game. That's going to be
hype. Beautiful, nice awesome. And chilly, nice and chilly.
Yeah, the
give me a sweater.
The Bucknuts will definitely have some fluids down their pipes to stay warm for sure.
Hot
in the
chocolate.
parking lot. Yeah, definitely. With just chocolate in it. The SEC's got $1 trillion, right? Texas plays Georgia plays Alabama and Florida plays LSU, and LSU plays Texas. Like, it's a round robin. Every week in the SEC is going to be must-see TV. So I couldn't give you one in particular. And then we talked about it last week, I think, in the ACC. You definitely look at Clemson Georgia Tech as a game that could set the tone for us.
That's early, like week Georgia 3, Tech. The 13th of September.
Again, if Georgia Tech finds a way to win that game, like we were talking about last week, that could put them in the playoff conversation early as well. So the bright side of expansion is the fact that every week we've got something nuts.
Yes.
And so, like, every week there's going to be a big game with big implications. It's going to be awesome.
If I'm going to name 2 in the SEC, and there's obvious ones, so I'm going to get out of the weeds a little bit. Florida at LSU. Florida wins that game. I think we're talking about Florida the way we've just been talking about LSU. I think
that's true.
Nussmeier and Lagway like flip spots, and then all of a sudden Florida's in the driver's seat to pop, because they're not going to play Alabama. Mm-hmm. So they're in a situation where they could go play Texas in the, well, for me, Texas, for you, Georgia, I guess, in the SEC championship game. And, maybe we're talking about them being a 5-6 seed rather than missing the playoff. So a lot on the line for Florida when they go to Death Valley and play LSU. That's week 3. I love that we're going to learn things pretty early, which is a lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah. And then the other one in the SEC that I had, Alabama at South Carolina. I look at these almost as playoff eliminators. South Carolina loses, maybe they're done. Florida loses to LSU, maybe they're done. That's kind of how I view those. And then I'll raise you one more. It's the only one we didn't mention yet. Big 12 winners, I think, going to the Big 12 championship game and probably going to win the Big 12. I have my Big 12 championship game being Arizona State and Texas Tech. But when Arizona State goes to Iowa State in Ames on November 1st, it's late in the year. Whoever wins that is winning the Big 12. I think if Iowa State wins that game, they'll win the Big 12 and go to the playoff. That's the game of the year in the Big 12, in my opinion, because you don't have a Texas Tech Iowa State and you don't have a Texas Tech Arizona State. You have an Arizona State Baylor. You have some games, but I think those are your top 3 in the conference. And I think when Arizona State and Iowa State meet, there's your winner of the conference.
And Arizona State embarrassed Iowa State in the title game last year. Like, that's going to be on replay in that locker room the whole week. And I like Iowa State. I don't know that they're going to win in week 0. I can't wait to watch that game, by the way, against K-State in Dublin.
Yes, let's go.
But
we get conference football off the rip.
Top 25 matchup off rip. First game of the season. It's going to be awesome.
2 great quarterbacks.
Yeah, Rocco Beck's a dog. I think it's like Ames magic never fails. It might be tricky for Iowa State. It will definitely be a difficult road trip for Arizona State. So I think it's interesting you circle that, because, like, either way it goes, you wouldn't be surprised.
No. I just think it's the game of the year in the Big 12.
I agree.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Bold predictions to wrap up our show for the 2025 college football season. Give me your first bold prediction.
I kind of spoiled it earlier. I think Lincoln Riley gets fired.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think Lincoln Riley gets fired. I think USC says, I can't put up with mediocrity anymore. We cannot keep going 6-6. Listen, we're in the Big Ten now. They didn't bring us here for no reason. This ain't going to get the job done. Again, I like some of the moves they made in the portal, their defense still gives me pause. They downgraded a quarterback. They lost their best offensive playmaker. I think USC just says, screw it, screw the buyout, whatever. We're not going to deal with this anymore. I think Southern Cal hires a different coach in the offseason. I don't know who, but would it surprise you? Would it surprise you if it was a guy like Kenny Dillingham?
He ain't leaving.
Dude, it's USC. You have to pick up the phone.
You have to pick up the phone, but this guy grew up going to Sun Devil Stadium.
I know.
His dream was to see that program get to prominence. He ain't leaving. That's his dream job. And I think Arizona State, if they're smart, will just pay him whatever the heck it takes. Whatever it takes. He'll be an $8 million a year head coach.
I thought that because they got a lot of losable games on the schedule. I thought if Alabama was like an 8-4 team, that DeBoer would also get the can, but I have them winning 10 games, so I don't think that's going to happen. I think if Riley and DeBoer both got fired, USC's first phone call would be DeBoer. And I think he would take that job, go back out west, situation where there's a lot less pressure, and he would have the type of success he's had at previous stops. I think Alabama sometimes can just crush you, and I think he would be better suited for USC. But regardless, I don't think it'll be Lincoln next year.
Who the heck? Like, there's a reason that DeBoer was like their fourth choice. We knew that. Like,
right.
It takes a special person to be willing to follow in the footsteps of Nick Saban.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most pressure-filled job, maybe in the history of college football. Who's going to take over after Nick Saban retires? Unbelievable.
It's not easy.
And like, I think they're going to be good this year. I have them at 11-1. Yeah.
It's year 2 in this system. Like, he's got his guys, for what it's worth, like, he inherited Jalen Milroe, and I like Milroe, but he's not everybody's cup of tea. Like, and he's also inherited Ty Simpson, but now it's like, it's his team more so this year than last year. So it wouldn't be surprising if they were to go 11-1.
That was actually one of my bold predictions. Is Alabama's pretty back this year. 11-1 wins at Georgia and against South Carolina. Like Bama's.
But is that bold? Like, they're the number 8 team in the country in the preseason. Like, it's Alabama.
No, I'll tell you what is bold though. Here's my first big boy bold prediction. All of the playoffs top 4 seeds come in undefeated.
Wow, that is.
Penn State runs the table, Big Ten champs. Yeah. Penn State runs the table, Big Ten champs. Texas runs the table, SEC champs. You get a table run out of Clemson in the ACC champs, and Notre Dame at 12-0. The top 4 seeds all come in unblemished. That's bold. Josh Pate would give that a 9.95 on the boldness scale.
Yeah, that it feels like the days of that. We saw that so often with the 4-team playoff, but last year, I mean, you had like 2-loss ASU as a 4 seed and all these. That last year was,
but that was because of because of the
exactly of the bye system. And I think there's less parity this year than there was last year. I think this year it's so heavy at the top. I mean, you look at the AP poll that just came out, like the teams that are in the top 12 of that are like all 12 of our playoff teams plus UNLV.
Yeah.
So somebody's going to come out of nowhere. That's a given. Nobody thought SMU and Indiana would be in the playoffs last year.
Or Arizona State.
So I think anything could happen. But I can see that because there's so much more parity, or so much less parity, I should say. I just feel like the grind of the SEC is so challenging. I don't see somebody running the table there.
That's completely fair. And the more and more you think about it, the harder and harder it sounds. So I'm just going to ride it. That's my boldest prediction. It doesn't get much bolder, but give me a couple more and I'll give you a couple more and we'll get out of here.
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot. Okay, let me think. I do think if I can just give a peek into my playoff predictions, I actually think that Texas goes on a bit of a revenge tour. I have them beating Arizona State handily instead of almost losing like they did last year, even though that game is in Tempe. Then I think they beat Ohio State in a rematch. And I know maybe on the surface, everybody was like, of course he has Ohio State as the one. He probably has them repeating. No siree. I think they lose to Texas in that game. I think they meet up with Penn State, who beats Notre Dame and gets revenge on them for last year in a semifinal, and then Penn State wins that game. I got Clemson kind of working through the bottom half of that and getting to a Penn State Clemson championship game. That's not a very bold prediction because they're the 2-5 teams in the AP poll, or 2-9 maybe, or 2-4. I can't really remember what it is. But if you're going to put me on the spot, I'll say the bold prediction is that Penn State winds up playing for a national championship for the first time under James Franklin.
Wow.
But they lose.
Oh.
Then I got Clemson as my national champ in 2025.
Wow. There you go. There you go. Let me pull out mine real quick. We were just oohing and awing over some of the matchups. You're going to get an LSU win over UNLV, gives you a week 1 rematch between LSU and Clemson. And it's funny how, say Clemson wins that game, which I think they would, it would begin and end exactly the same for LSU. A defeat at the hands of Dabo.
I would not be able to sleep at night.
Which is crazy. And then you got Arizona State and Oregon in the first round in Eugene. Bring me back to the Pac-12. It's beautiful. I can already see, I can already hear Chris Fowler. It's a downfield shot to Ayuk. A foot race. They won't get him.
Yeah, shout out Jaden Daniels.
Shout out Jaden Daniels. And then on top of it, so say Arizona State wins that game, they get Texas, and we get to run back the 2024 Cotton Bowl. Arizona State, Texas in the playoffs for the second year in a row would go crazy. Ohio State beats Georgia Tech, so you get Ohio State, Notre Dame, a national championship rematch in the quarters. And then say Alabama beats South Carolina. Who doesn't want to see Alabama, Penn State?
Yep. I mean, you got heavyweight fights across the board. That's the bright side of the 12-team playoff is like, and now under this new format, there's no more Boise State in the semis and stuff like that. Like, it's going to be nuts.
With this, I like this layout better because we're trimming the fat in round 1, respectfully.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
that's a good way of putting it.
I love my ACC. I love the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. I think they're going to have a great year until they go to Columbus.
And it's a wake-up call.
Yeah, and we might see Kevin Jennings. I'll never forget. You could see it running down his leg in the whiteout at Penn State. Poor guy threw 2 pick sixes off the rip.
I forgot that it was 2 until I went back earlier today, and I was like, what happened in that Penn State SMU game again? And I was like, oh my God, it was 28-0 at halftime, and he threw 2 pick sixes.
Yeah.
That's insanity. So yeah, that might happen again. I don't think that bad, but like, I mean, we saw what Ohio State did last year in their home playoff game against Tennessee. Like, you just don't want to run into these buzzsaws in the first round. I'm interested to see what it looks like the carryover from round 1 to round 2, because all the lower seeded teams won in the quarterfinals last year. I don't think that happens again. I
couldn't agree with you more. All right, my last bold prediction. It's really not all that bold. It's kind of a 3-parter. Lenore Sellers hoops, but he shows that he's much more of a dual threat guy. Everyone thinks of him as this dominant runner. I think we're going to see more of his downfield passing ability this year to top off the run and really show that he's an elite high-level quarterback. I think, as a bold prediction, Austin Simmons at Ole Miss. I don't know if it's going to show in wins, losses, but he is going to ball out. We're going to talk about Austin Simmons going into next year, which is his junior year, as a Heisman contender in the preseason. I think that's how good
anything's possible.
I think that Austin Simmons is going to be that guy down in Oxford. And then I think the same can be said about Dante Moore at Oregon.
Yeah,
Dan Lannon,
he's talented, man.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's going to look a little different for the Ducks this year. They're going to have to trust their defense a little bit more while he gets his footing. Maybe run the rock a little bit. Like, you're not going to see them drop 45 on your head like they did with Dylan Gabriel. But I think we're going to be saying similar things about Dante Moore in the near future, the years to come, because I think that he's a part of this youth wave in college football at the quarterback spot.
Yeah,
those are the bold predictions.
These kids are getting more talented. I mean, Jeremiah Smith.
Let's just enjoy some. Let's conclude the show by enjoying some of this, man. My preseason Heisman Trophy winner in 2025. Look at Look at that. Underthrown by Will Howard. He has to come back to it.
No, it hit him in stride, and it resulted in a ring, which is about as good as you want. It was a heck of a season, obviously. All I can say is there's a reason why when
Jack Sawyer.
Captain Jack, when the media told Ryan Day that Jeremiah Smith had committed to Ohio State, because a lot of people don't remember he was this close to flipping to Miami when Day was giving a press conference and the media told him he had verbally committed.
My God. Cam Ward almost won the Heisman with Jeremiah. Imagine that, bro.
Dude, that would have been nuts. Like
Ryan Day might have won the
fell to his knees. Yeah, they couldn't stop a nosebleed.
No, they could have made Jeremiah Smith go play safety as well.
Like he is, when I look at him, I think he's the closest thing to Julio Jones since Julio Jones. And I think Julio is the best receiver I ever watched at the collegiate level. I also think Amari Cooper and Marvin Harrison Jr. are in that conversation. But I said going into last year, Smith would be the best receiver in this long lineage of Ohio State wide receivers. After 1 year, that already looks like the case. And he still's got 2 years left. It's nuts. It doesn't matter who's throwing him the rock. Like, it's just ridiculous.
He's a beast. Jeremiah Smith. All right, brother. This was a fun show, my man.
It was.
We're catching our stride a little bit, man.
Yeah, it's just, we're finding a groove a little bit.
Cheeky podcast, every once in a while.
It's a good time, dude. I can't wait. College football is really our thing. Obviously, we love the NFL, but I know college football is my favorite sport. I know it's your favorite sport. Like, obviously you're a lacrosse guy, but in terms of the big sport,
I think college, just because of the attention on it, it's college football,
Yeah. So this is our element for sure. I can't wait to get into the NFL though.
Oh, I can't wait to get into the NFL. Let's we're only living an hour away. We need to get you. Do you work on Saturdays?
It depends on. I get my schedule like a month in advance, but I will. If any Saturday, Sunday I have off, I will be taking the trip down I-90 for sure.
So I'm doing the pregame show for Syracuse football locally on the radio. But
congratulations,
thank you, appreciate it. But that means the evenings following the Cuse game, we might have to have you come over for the prime time.
Yep, the old SEC on ABC, the Big Ten on NBC.
Yeah,
dual TVs, the chicken riggies.
We'll put you up, and then we'll run it back on Sunday for the 1 o'clock time frame. We'll get you home in time for work on Monday.
Exactly, dude.
Perfect.
It's chef's kiss.
I love it. I miss you, man. This is fun.
This was a blast. Let's do it again next week.
All right. For Raza Umarani, I'm Giovanni Heater. We'll see you next time on Got It Covered.